First off, let me apologize for my voice. I have sort of a sore throat here, and it's not helping me talk. So if I sound like an idiot, well, it's my own fault. You could always turn the volume off. So these certainly aren't all of the various Star Wars releases that have been released over the course of God knows how many years, but this is what I have, and I don't have much of the full screen stuff. They release many LaserDiscs, some full screen, some widescreen, of course, and I only own the widescreen editions. So there are some different ones, and I don't have all of them, but this is just what I have, and I thought it would be pretty cool to just show you, the different variations that I have, and I'll go through each one and just briefly point out, what's different about them or what makes them special or the same to the rest of them. We have some VHS tapes, we have some laser discs here, and we have the DVD set of the trilogy that came out in 2004. So there's some cool stuff to go over here, and let's get started. So I'm going to show you a few editions of Star Wars that I have on VHS, DVD, and even Laserdisc, and just briefly explain how they differ. This set, I believe, is an early set from either 1992 or 1993, and it's a trilogy of the first three movies, of course, and it has a nice little holographic thing on the front, and that's the only reason why I really got it. We had a different set when I was growing up, but basically has all the tapes. You have the original Star Wars, you have The Empire Strikes Back, and you have Return of the Jedi. And what you also have is, I gave you the tape actually fell out of this one. Sort of hard to do this one-handed, so you have to bear with me here. Okay. They also have from Star Wars to Jedi, basically a making of tape. And these are what came in this box here. And this was released, I think around 1993 or so. There's a great link I'm going to include in the notes that goes over when basically everything was released. It's actually on the official Star Wars page, and it's a pretty good read. They stop after Revenge of the Sith, I think, so it's not that outdated. So this is the regular trilogy, the unaltered, not the special edition. These are just the letterbox special editions that they came out. Not the special edition, but a special widescreen presentation of the trilogy. So that's one of the first VHS sets that I have. And, next we have is the THX widescreen edition of the original Star Wars trilogy. This is also not the special edition. This is just the regular three movies. They cleaned up the picture and they enhanced the sound a bit, but these are the original unaltered three movies, and again, it's sort of like a slide-out package here. Excuse my one-handedness again. And so you have, of course, Star Wars, Empire, and Return of the Jedi, and they're all in their widescreen THX remastered editions. And it comes with a pretty cool box. What's cool is, I've noticed there are actually two variations of this. This is the set that we've always had, this type, where the tapes slide into this little holder here and then slide into this little case right here. But my aunt has a different one where this is actually a box and it flips open. So there's nothing that slides out. The tapes are all just set in the box. And I thought that was interesting to note, that maybe they, produced another set and they were trying to cut costs or whatever. But the same tapes were inside. Just interesting to note the packaging was different. So those were the VHS editions that I have. They came out with a few different kinds. Some don't have a big box, some are just individual. And after episode 1, they re-released the trilogy in a smaller box set, basically 3 VHS tapes side to side. And that's notable for having a sort of like a clear plastic case that comes off. I don't have it. Somebody had a yard sale, but they wanted $10 for the whole set, and I spend $10 on a better looking set, so I'll get it eventually. But But the interesting thing about that set is it had a little preview for episode 2, which is interesting. It's, just a little snippet of video, but I don't think they ever released it on anything else. So now that we reviewed the VHS sets of the original trilogy that I have, it's on to the LaserDiscs. These are LaserDiscs. Some of you may be asking, what is a LaserDisc? Well, these are what came out before DVDs. They had great advantages over VHS. They had a sharper picture. They offered multi-language tracks for audio, so you could have both English, Spanish, or French, on one disc, on one movie rather. And they had some special features too. LaserDisc sort of pioneered the special features, bonus features thing. Some discs even had commentary, some had extra features or trailers after the film. And what they look like is this. They look like a very big DVD. They're almost exactly the size of a vinyl record. So here's a DVD by comparison. You can see how large these discs actually are. The center of a DVD is, sort of the size of a center of a LaserDisc. So these are pretty big things, and they are double-sided. So a LaserDisc will have video on both sides of the disc. If it does not, it will state that. Some discs, are only one-sided for a reason, because there's no program content on the other side, or they didn't need to have any extra space. So that's what LaserDiscs are, and they come in these cool packages, and some of them have big spread outs like this, and some don't. And I don't know. I think they're pretty cool. I started collecting them for their artwork, and I realized they were actually pretty neat to have. And they go in these plastic sleeves, and you just slide them in here just like a record. It's hard to do one-handed, so I'll leave that to your imagination. Now this is something that most LaserDisc collectors and Star Wars fans are looking for. This is the Definitive Collection Star Wars Trilogy, the widescreen collector's edition. And this is great. It's the unaltered versions of the Star Wars trilogy, the original versions, as original you could get. And it is in a CAV LaserDisc set, that's CAV, which allows you to freeze frame and do step-by-step frame grabs, not frame grabs, but sort of like progressing to each frame, going in slow motion. And CLV discs could not do that on LaserDisc, so it was a big deal that this was a CAV set. And the picture quality is also better, too. One issue with this set, though, is they had two revisions. One was a bit poorly pressed, and it cut off a few seconds of The Empire Strikes Back. And it was also known for laser rot, which means the discs degrade over time because they weren't manufactured the best way. So I actually have two of these sets, one here and one there. And sadly, they are both the first revisions, so they do have probably a bit of laser rot, and they're not. The packaging is not the best. As you can see, the box sort of folds open here, and each disc, each set of discs actually, because each movie has a few discs, are in these three little packages here. And unfortunately, they are not the easiest thing to take out, and they do fall apart quite easily. As you can see, here's one for Return of the Jedi, and there are 3 different laser discs in here. As you can see, the binding is coming off. The glue wasn't that strong. Apparently on the second version of this set, these were put together a bit better. So, yeah. And see, here's Empire Strikes Back, and here's Star Wars. And what also was included in this set was a nice little book, and this basically tells you about the movie, if I get it open here. It's a great book with some nice pictures in it, and really nice presentation of these films, and they give you actually a chapter stop, tell you, if you're trying to look for a particular scene, what disc it's on, what chapter it is. And believe it or not, there is audio commentary. Not complete audio commentary. It's not feature length like DVDs have today. It's just snippets. So it's like right around here, we'll say around chapter 2, there's something about concepts. Around chapter 4, there's something about the Tauntaun effects. So that's interesting, and They're actually quite cool. I mean, there's a lot of dead audio between them, so there's not commentary throughout the whole movie. And actually, since this is the first pressing, apparently the booklet does not have the correct chapter stops labeled for the audio commentary. So sometimes there'll be a few chapters before or after, but it's on there. I've listened to most of them. I actually converted them to a DVD while I was at it, and it was quite interesting. There's some little quotes and stuff that I've never heard before from all my watching Star Wars and all the extra discs and everything. So that's a cool little booklet. And what's also cool is this hard book that came with it. This is called The Creative Impulse, and it's a book about George Lucas and all his films and things like that. And it has a heavy influence, not influence rather, but has a heavy, what's the word I'm looking for? Heavy focus on Star Wars. But it does go through a lot of his previous films and things like that. There's some Indiana Jones in here. And there's Howard the Duck, of course. If you don't know what that is, save yourself and do not look it up on Google or Wikipedia. And yeah, it's a nice book. The first set I got did not come with this book, so I'm happy that this set did. This set cost me $20 at a yard sale. A guy on Craigslist, and he actually, I emailed him asking if he had a Star Wars LaserDisc, because in his yard sale he said he had LaserDiscs, and sure enough he did. And I picked it up there. It was $20, and it was well spent. The book alone, I think, is worth a good amount. I mean, they did press the book separately. They do have a version of this you could buy on Amazon, but I don't think it's the same cover. It's probably the same contents, though. So here is a little oddity that I have. It's just The Empire Strikes Back on LaserDisc. It's not the whole trilogy, but it's a single disc that I got for $1.99 at the Princeton Record Exchange in New Jersey. And it has a pretty cool cover. They call this a gatefold cover, a disc set rather. It opens up sort of like a gate. And it's nice. It has some information in here. It has the cast. You could probably pause this to read the text in there. And it's pretty cool. It gives you some behind-the-scenes information. There's some nice pictures. And on the back you have a list of chapter stops and everything. So there are 2 discs in here, but it's only 3 sides. So one side of the LaserDisc is not used. As you can see, this is a bit beat up, but on the back side it says, "Program material has not been recorded on the other side of this LaserDisc, so do not bother putting it in your player." But this is pretty cool. It was only $2, so I decided to get it, and it's, I don't know, has a nice presentation of the movie.